Good evening, everyone. This is Reading for Charity again on Wednesday. So if you've not seen this before, and all the videos are available somewhere, we are currently reading in aid of the Archie Foundation. I'll tell you a little bit about them before I start doing the review. They're a fantastic foundation in the northeast of Scotland who help sick kids, particularly ones that have to go into hospital. If you've ever been in hospital, you, as an adult, you know how much of a scary experience it is. The operating theatres, for example, they're so cold and clinical and sterile and stainless steel everywhere. It can be a scary experience as an adult. I mean, imagine going in there as a child. And the Archie Foundation work hard to try and make that experience for children, a bit more bearable. And that can only be a good thing. Helping sick kids out is always a good thing. And the Archie Foundation do really, really good work. If you've got any money in your pockets, please donate. If you've donated before, thank you. If you haven't, why not? The Just Giving link will be in the description of the video, or on the Facebook page, which will also link. Feel free. I know it's coming up for the end of the month, and payday's just around the corner, and if you've got a couple of extra quid, feel free to throw it in the pot. We've raised over £600 so far. I really, really want to make it up to 1,000 by the end of this year. That would be fantastic. That would be double my original target. That would be really, really good. So the book for today was Just William. Let's see if we can get that without glare. There we go. Well, Just William, which is from the 1920s. This book is almost 100 years old. It's 95 years since the first edition of the first Just William book was released. Now, I haven't got a copy of one of those. I suspect they go for quite a lot of money these days. This edition is, I think, from the 90s. Is it? Yes, it is. 1990 exactly is when it was published. But they've published it as if it was from the 40s, which is this fantastically confusing. So it's a 1990s book of an edition from the 40s of a book first published in 1922, which is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So you end up with little illustrations in it like this. Let's hold up to the camera. All the way through the book, there's just the little illustrations of how it would have been when it was published originally, or at least published in the 40s. So you've got this lovely kind of 1940s style of illustration of the books of stories that were written in the 1920s. It's quite tremendous, and it's a completely charming, straightforward and lovely book. There's several effectively short stories in there. There's 12 short stories in the book. They calls it chapters, but there's no coherent story through this. It's just little 12 vignettes of William being William, and they're all. I mean, none of them are more than, I don't know, 20 pages long, perhaps. They're just nice little stories. You can sit and read them in half an hour, 20 minutes, depending on how fast you read. And it just puts a little smile on your face and you jog on. It's a lovely, lovely little book. It's interesting that until I realised it was 95 years old, I didn't realise it was 95 years old. I thought it was written in the 40s actually, which is when this edition was, because it feels like a 40s book. It feels like the kind of stories that I was reading when I was growing up. The Enid Blytons in particular. It feels kind of the similar vein, because it's completely inoffensive. Nobody swears. There's no discussion of genitalia. There's nothing that we would associate with a more modern book. It's completely and utterly inoffensive. And compared to the books that I've been reading so far, the likes of Mercy Boys and Unbearable Lightness of Being, Therapy and Animal, it's such a contrast to actually have a book which is this has actually been a really easy read, and you can sit down. I walked away from it going, you know what, I absolutely enjoyed that. I learnt nothing. I haven't had to think all the way through the book, but I've really enjoyed it. It's felt really good. It's felt really good. There's a couple of books like this coming up in the next couple of weeks, which is I think lightened my mood given the unbearable lightness of being and the absolute trochel, to use a particularly Scottish word, of getting through that. So it's a fantastic little book. It doesn't feel like 95 years old. It could have been written today, really, but it could have been written by a particularly old school author. You know, it's not a children's book that you would expect to have been written by I don't know, David Bedial or David Walliams, you know, one of the current bells of children's literature. And I wouldn't even say this is a particularly a children's book. It's not childish in any way. The events that the acts that William do is childish, but it's not a childish book. But it could be read by children quite happily. And again, to use the Enid Blyton kind of analogy, I'd be happy handing this over, or the Famous Five over, to Astrid when she's old enough to read, and say, look, go away, enjoy that. There's nothing in there, you know, that's particularly going to be harmful to your psyche. It might, you know, teach you a couple of bad habits, such as clambering out of windows and stealing cake. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, if the worst that your child takes away from a book is, you know, a love of clambering out of windows and stealing cake, then, you know, the world's not such a bad place. There's not a huge amount to say about this book, in all honesty. You know, there's no great discussion to be had. There's no great investigation into anything that Compton's meant as he's written the book. It's just an enjoyable little read. I do like the way that he's got the dichotomy between his family of William being the terror child. But there's always very good reasons for doing what he's doing in his own head. He's got a very good reason for it, and some of it's just because he's make-believing, and some of it's because he's playing. But the reasoning is solid, and having a small child of my own, I see that in her as well. The reasoning that she has for doing certain things is solid reasoning. It might be not adult reasoning, might be not what I would have thought of if I'd done something similar. But the reasoning behind what she's done is solid. And as again with William, it's a fantastically written book by someone who understands children and how they act. I said I wasn't going to go into deep analysis with this. I'm not going to go into deep analysis about it. I'm going to read out the one small section that I was going to read out. That it's quite a good example of just William in general, I think. And the kind of style of the book this is. So you get a good idea of what this is just from, you know, half a page or however long it is. Where are we? Okay. William put the bottle of licorice water in one pocket and half a cake in the other, and was preparing to leave the house in his usual stealthy fashion, through the bathroom window, down the scullery roof, and down the water pipe, hand over hand, to the back garden. Even when unencumbered by the presence of a purloined half cake, William infinitely preferred this mode of exit to the simpler one of walking out the front door. As he came out onto the landing, however, he heard the sound of opening and shutting of the hall door, and exuberant greetings in the hall. "Oh, I'm so glad you've come, dear. And is this the baby? The duck? Well then, now zoo den, ooh, go, 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 go." This was William Mother. "Oh, crumbs," said William, and retreated hastily. If that's not just, you know, it's verging on the lashings and lashings of ginger beer kind of parody that who was it who did it? I only remember Don French was in it. Not 9 o'clock news, maybe. The parody they did of the Famous Five, and it is verging on that. It feels at times because it's just so, you know, small and parochial and, you know, upper middle class all the way through. It's just tremendous. It's like reading a book that I read when I was a kid. I highly recommend reading it. It's not a long read at all. You know, you can wade through it in a couple of hours without really thinking about it. When I say 12 minutes, 12 chapters, 248 pages, 4 hours read quite easily. But it will make you feel happy and it will make you feel good. You won't come out feeling educated and you won't come out feeling worthy, maybe in the same way as reading something like The Unbearable Lightness of Being. But it will just put a small smile on your face and you walk about the house feeling a lot happier than you were when you sat down to read it in the first place. Highly recommend this book. It was most enjoyable indeed. Yeah, so like I said, I'm not going to say much more about the book. It's not a book that requires much in-depth discussion. If you like the works of Enid Blyton when you were a child, if you were a child of the 80s like myself, go give it a read. I might go and check out some of the other ones actually, see if I can get them from the library, because I think they might just be quite good little stories to read to Astrid. Just change it to a girl so she's happy, and I think she'll enjoy them. Next week, I mean Sunday. Next book will be Winky. Here is Winky. Interesting book. The blurb on it is the most extraordinary and most inventive satire on the war on terror to emerge from America, which is a bold title, and we'll discuss that more on Sunday. That's the next one up. If you're interested in Chase, if you're interested in Winky by Clifford Chase, Sunday's the next one for that. Again, 8 PM UK time. So just to finish up, again, this is in aid of the Archie Foundation. They are a fantastic charity, raising money for helping sick kids in the northeast of Scotland. All the money stays in the northeast of Scotland. If you're around these parts, please donate. If you've donated already, thank you. Donate again. If you've not donated, why not? It's a couple of quid, throw it their way. They're helping sick kids. That's always a fantastic thing to do. And it's a Just Giving link, so I don't see any of the money. None of this goes through me. It just goes straight to the charity. It's a fantastic thing. So yes, hopefully we might see some people on chat on Sunday. That would be nice. That would be good. We've managed one single stream with people in chat so far, so more would be good. Yeah, and I think some of the books coming up will be quite good for that chat as well. So please stop by if you can. It's fantastic. Also, these are now going up on YouTube as well as Twitch, because Twitch do delete videos after a while. I've lost the first two. Sadly, I didn't realise that Twitch deleted them quite as quickly as they did. So I'm going to be missing forever Paula Spencer and Therapy. But everything else is going up on YouTube, just as an archive of these. Again, feel free to give them a watch on YouTube if you don't want to read them on, if you don't want to watch them on Twitch. But if you go on YouTube, you will miss out on the wonderful chat replay function that Twitch has. Yeah, and if there's nobody in chat, you're not missing out on anything. Anyway, thank you very much for listening and watching. This is Reading for Charity, reading currently for the Archie Foundation, and with any luck, I will see you on Sunday. Thank you very much.